Hello, we're here today outside the courthouse in Ballina, and today we attended the inquest of Sally Maaz. Sally Maaz died in Mayo University Hospital on the 24th of April of this year. Sally had been put into a COVID ward in the hospital despite testing negative numerous times. When we heard the story, members of my family reported it to the Gardaí in Castlebar. They sat down with Sergeant Michael Doherty and Declan Sweeney in Castlebar and reported that matter. Now today we're here at the inquest of Sally Maaz in Ballina. Now an inquest, as you will probably know, is a public inquiry to establish the facts surrounding a death. And we attended today to exercise our right, simply as members of the public, to be there. Now the coroner today overseeing the proceedings was Pat O'Connor from Swinford. He's the county coroner here in County Mayo. Now when he entered the courtroom, he immediately told the room that there were too many people in the room. And he said that anybody who wasn't either a solicitor or a member of the families directly involved or the Gardaí had to stand up. And not only did they have to stand up, but they had to identify themselves. This is all very unusual. So it started with my sister, Josiah Burke, who gave her name. He moved on to my mother, who's here today, Martina Burke. He moved on then to a member of the media. And then he moved to myself. And I declined to give my name because I knew that there was no obligation for somebody to give their name who's simply attending a public hearing. Mr. O'Connor took great offence at this. He demanded repeatedly that I give my name. He then told me that if I did not, he would order me to be removed from the room by the Gardaí. Now I remained very quiet and peaceful through all this time, but I declined to give my name, as was my right. And
at that point then
yes.
The guards entered the room, and Pat O'Connor, the coroner, instructed them to have Josiah Burke removed from the room. Josiah sat there, the guards spoke with him, cajoled him, tried to get him to go, put their arm on his shoulder, tried to move him. But of course he has a right to be there, as we all have. It's a public inquiry, we have a right to be there. So after some time, Pat O'Connor then stood and...
yes, he said he was going to rise until the Gardaí had removed me from the room. Now before he did this, he also mentioned something else. My sister Josiah Burke had contacted himself, the county coroner, last week, simply looking for details around the inquest, the date of the inquest and the location of the inquest. And Mr. O'Connor today referred to that. And he said that my sister had had the cheek to contact him last week.
And what was very strange,
yes.
actually, when my daughter Jemima called the coroner, Pat O'Connor, to inquire about the date and the time of the inquest coming up, he refused to give it to her. He said he would not be given to her, and he hung up on the phone, which is very, very extraordinary.
Yes, and bear in mind always that the inquest is a public inquiry. So the coroner, Pat O'Connor, after this these extraordinary displays of action, he rose and left the room. The Gardaí, as we've said, attempted to remove me but did not. And finally, during that interval, the coroner appeared at the side of the court. He called in witnesses into a side room, separated from the rest of us. We didn't know what was happening in there. He called the witnesses in, and they were escorted in there by the Gardaí. And this is all very, very concerning, because this must be held in public, and we were very concerned about that. So he finished today by adjourning the hearing, and we're just very, very sad and disturbed about what has happened here today.
It's very sad, it's very tragic, and I would say that the coroner has absolutely no right to stand at an inquest and vilify a citizen, vilify her and assassinate her for asking simply when the inquest would be held and at what time. And this is what he did, and he actually threatened her. He said he would be coming back to that again and dealing with it.
So this is totally unacceptable behaviour from Pat O'Connor, and this is a very grave situation in its entirety. But it has gotten even graver now with the behaviour of Pat O'Connor, County Coroner in Mayo. So we are observing this very carefully.
Yes, it's very concerning,
yes.
and it's very concerning what's happening in our hospitals, and people are losing their lives, and it's very concerning when a coroner who is investigating the cause of death appears in such a fashion, as arrogant and above the law, and threatens and vilifies anybody who would even ask the time or the place, location of an inquest. It seems that he will now decide who will be at the inquest and who will not.
Yes, so we'll be coming back to this. Thank you for watching.